The night they cast me out, the sky burned crimson. I remember the color more than the cold. A deep, unnatural red, like the heavens themselves were bleeding as my pack turned their backs on me. The elders called it a sign from the moon goddess, a warning that I was cursed, unfit to stand among them. But all I knew was that Emma, once loved and protected, was now alone beneath the screaming sky. My wolf form trembled inside me, pushed down by fear and humiliation. Liam, the alpha who had promised safety, wouldn't even look at me as he spoke the words that shattered everything. You are Omega without a bond mark. You bring danger. The pack cannot carry your weakness. Weak. That was the lie they carved into me. It wasn't weakness that made the crimson sky pulse like a heartbeat. It wasn't weakness that made the wind carry my name as if whispering a prophecy I didn't understand. Something ancient stirred that night. Something older than the pack, older than the laws that condemned me. But what wounded me most wasn't the council's decision. It was Fraser. My own brother. He stood among them, arms crossed, eyes hollow. He didn't defend me. Didn't flinch. Didn't even blink as the pack escorted me past the gates that had once been home. Fraser, please, I whispered. His reply was soft, almost bored. Don't make this harder. Harder for him. As if I wasn't the one losing everything. The gates shut behind me with the finality of a tomb. The forest swallowed me whole, branches black against the red sky, wind laced with frost and warning. Every instinct begged me to shift, to run, to hide, but terror anchored my limbs. That was when I felt it. A presence. Not wolf. Not human. Something colder, older, hungering. The trees fell still. The air thickened, trembling against my skin. A scent drifted through the night. Dark, metallic, and devastatingly alluring, like smoke rolling off obsidian stone. Then a voice, low and impossibly calm, spoke from the shadows. You should not wander alone on a night like this. Emma. My blood iced. No stranger should have known my name. He stepped forward, and the crimson sky seemed to deepen behind him, as if it bowed to his arrival. Tall, impossibly still, silver-eyed, wearing a cloak that drank the light. I knew the stories, the warnings whispered to scare pups into obedience. But none of them had prepared me for the truth. I was standing before John, the Vampire King, the ruler of the Crimson Court, the monster parents warned their children about. And he was looking at me not with hunger, but with recognition. As if he had been waiting for me. I should have run. Every instinct inside me screamed it. Omega prayed before a predator who needed no moon to shift, no claws to kill. Yet something deeper, older, pulled me still. John's silver eyes held me in place as firmly as chains, but there was no malice in them, only a kind of stunned certainty. As if he were seeing something I couldn't. The cold wrapped around us, thick and unmoving, the forest waiting in silent tension. His cloak brushed the ground without a sound, the fabric darker than the shadows themselves. I could smell him, iron, smoke, and winter frost. A scent that should have terrified me but instead settled somewhere low in my chest, unfamiliar and unsettling. Why do you know my name? I whispered. His gaze flicked to the sky. The crimson glow painted sharp angles across his face, highlighting the ancient lines of power etched into him. Because the blood moon calls your name through every tree in this forest. It's been echoing since dawn. I don't understand. You will. He stepped closer, slow, controlled, as if he were approaching something fragile. Tell me, Omega, why did your pack cast you out on a night like this? I flinched at the word Omega, but from him it didn't feel like an insult, more like a title, a truth he already accepted. My throat tightened. They said I was cursed. His brow lifted, amusement flickering. Cursed? Or dangerous? I hesitated. The wind answered in my silence. His expression sharpened, and he circled me once, not touching, but close enough that my pulse tripped in confusion. It wasn't predatory hunger that radiated from him. It was awareness. He inhaled deeply, and heat pooled behind my ribs. Your scent, he murmured. It's shifting. Fractured. Bound to something your pack feared. Fear clawed up my spine. I'm not dangerous. John's eyes softened, not pity, but something warmer, heavier. I didn't say the danger was yours. A branch snapped in the distance. His head turned instantly, predator fast. Without hesitation he stepped in front of me, cloak flaring like wings as he shielded my body behind his. What is it? I breathed. Wolves, he said, voice dropping. Not yours. Rogues. Drawn by the same call that led me here. My heart hammered. Wolves without pack, without law. Wolves who killed for survival. His voice brushed my ear like velvet laced with steel. Stay behind me, Emma. Do exactly as I say. The shadows moved between the trees, pairs of eyes, glowing sickly yellow, hunger scraping the night. John didn't shift. Vampires didn't need to. His hands remained at his sides, calm, graceful. Yet his presence alone felt like a weapon. When the first rogue lunged forward, teeth bared, John blurred, vanished, reappeared gripping the wolf by the throat. A sickening crack split the air. The others growled, circling, but every time they struck, he was faster, colder, effortless. The crimson sky pulsed overhead like a heartbeat. By the time silence returned, 5 rogue wolves lay motionless on the frost. John turned to me, silver eyes glowing brighter than the moon. You are not cursed, he said quietly. You are being hunted. My breath broke. Why me? His gaze softened with something that made the air feel too heavy to breathe. Because you were born with a destiny neither pack nor king can ignore. His hand lifted, slow, hesitant. And for the first time, the terrifying vampire king touched me, brushing a tremble of hair from my cheek. And I will not let anyone claim you, he whispered, until you understand why. John's touch lingered like a spark against my skin, too gentle, too deliberate for the monster the stories painted him to be. My breath caught, and for a moment neither of us moved. The crimson sky dimmed into a deep wine red, as if listening. I have to take you from here, he said quietly. Rogues don't hunt without purpose. Someone sent them. My pack! The words trembled out before I could stop them. He studied me, expression unreadable but waited. No. Your pack fears you, but they wouldn't risk the blood moon's wrath. His gaze slipped toward the slain wolves. This was the work of a rival alpha, one who wants what you carry. I don't carry anything. My voice cracked, brittle with exhaustion. I'm an omega with no bond mark. Weak, unwanted, abandoned. That's all. John stepped closer, closing the distance between us until his presence pressed around me like cold fire. Do not say that again. My pulse stumbled. His voice was soft, but the steel underneath it hummed with centuries of command. You are not weak, he murmured. And you are certainly not unwanted. My breath hitched. You don't even know me. His silver eyes flicked toward the sky, then back to me. The blood moon knows you. And it has not bled for anyone in over 500 years. I swallowed hard. What does that mean? It means your birth was written into prophecy. He extended a hand, not demanding, but offering. And prophecies attract enemies. My heart skittered like a trapped bird. Why would a prophecy be about me? You survived abandonment. You survived being cast out. You survived tonight. His fingers brushed mine. The destined always survive the first fall. Something in me cracked open, a soft ache swelling in my chest. The pack had never spoken of destiny, only duty, law, obedience. But here, under the bleeding sky, a vampire king spoke my existence as if it mattered. As if I mattered. A cold gust swept between us. John's expression sharpened instantly. More rogues are coming. We need to leave, now. He slipped one arm around my back, steadying me. The heat of him contrasted sharply with the night's chill, and my breath caught when his cloak fell over my shoulders, wrapping me in shadows and warmth. I can run, I whispered, though my body shook. I know, he said. But I'm faster. Before I could protest, John lifted me effortlessly into his arms. Not rough, not even urgent. Just secure. As if he had carried me 100 times in another life. My hands curled against his chest, feeling the steady, cold heartbeat beneath layers of dark fabric. Hold on to me, he murmured. The forest blurred. Not like running. Not like shifting. More like the air folding around us, bending to his command. Wind roared past my ears, branches whipping into streaks of black and crimson. My stomach flipped, but his hold never wavered. We moved like shadows carried by storm. When the world finally steadied, we stood at the edge of a cliff overlooking a valley I'd never seen, vast, moonlit, dotted with ancient ruins and distant torchlight. High on the opposite ridge rose a dark silhouette with towering spires. A castle. His castle. The Crimson Court. My breath left me in a shaky exhale. John's eyes glowed as he watched me take it in. This is where you'll be safe. Safe with the most feared immortal in the realm. Safe from the pack that abandoned me. Safe with him. The wind rustled as if whispering truth. But the feeling in my chest, the quiet, trembling warmth, felt far too dangerous to call safety. The castle loomed above the valley like a monument carved from night itself, obsidian stone, towering battlements, windows flickering with deep red torchlight. It should have terrified me. Every tale whispered among pups had spoken of this place as the cradle of nightmares, the throne of a king who drank souls as easily as blood. And yet, standing there in John's arms, wrapped in his cloak, I felt something I had not felt since childhood. Protected. The realization unsettled me more than the castle's shadow. John set me gently on my feet. The night wind brushed his hair across his forehead, and for a moment his expression softened into something almost human. Are you afraid? He asked. Yes, I admitted. Good. His voice was calm, steady. Fear keeps you aware. But hear me, Emma. His fingertips lifted my chin, tilting my face toward his. You will never be harmed under my roof. A promise spoken like a law. My wolf shivered inside me, caught between instinct and something far more dangerous, trust. We walked toward the bridge that arched over a chasm glowing faintly red with volcanic heat. Gargoyle-like statues lined the stone path, their eyes carved from rubies that flickered as we passed. The air smelled of iron, smoke, and roses, an impossible mix that clung to the cliffs. 2 towering guards stepped forward at the gate, their armor black as midnight. Their eyes glowed crimson, vampires, not wolves. They dropped to one knee. My king, they said in unison, voices echoing through the night. John didn't slow. Open the gates. Their gazes flickered toward me, confusion, shock, maybe even fear, but none dared question him. The iron gates groaned as they parted, revealing the grand entrance hall beyond. I stepped inside and stopped breathing. The ceiling arched impossibly high, supported by pillars wrapped in thorn vines of black metal. Chandeliers floated, not hung, suspended by enchantment, their candles burning crimson and gold. The marble floor shimmered with swirling veins of silver that reflected the vaulted ceiling like a mirror. This was a throne hall built not for mortals, but for legends. For kings. For monsters. John walked a few steps ahead, then turned back, as if making sure I wasn't overwhelmed. Maybe he sensed the trembling in my fingers. Maybe he felt the way my sense shifted with fear. Or maybe he was simply watching me. Elena, he called softly. A figure emerged from the shadows. Tall, graceful, dressed in flowing silver-white robes that contrasted with the hall's darkness. Her eyes glowed a soft blue, vampire, but different. Gentler. She bowed. My king! This is Emma, he said, his voice dipping into a tone I had never heard before. Protective. Final. Prepare a guest chamber for her. She is not to be touched. Elena's eyes widened, flicking to me with new scrutiny. Of course, sire. Touched. The word lingered between us. John stepped closer to me, lowering his voice to a private murmur. Elena is trusted. She will ensure your safety while I manage matters. I swallowed. Matters? His gaze drifted toward the open doors, toward the blood-stained night. Someone sent those rogues after you. I intend to know who. Fear prickled my skin. You're leaving? For a short time. His eyes softened. I won't go far enough that I can't feel your scent. The words curled through me like heat. Your wolf will settle once you're inside the warded rooms, he continued. Rest tonight. You've survived more than any Omega should endure in one evening. He hesitated, just long enough for my breath to catch, then brushed a strand of hair from my cheek. A single touch. Barely there. Yet it felt like the ground shifted under me, pulling me toward him with a force older than the moon. His voice lowered to a whisper meant only for me. I have not claimed anything in a very long time, but I will not allow the night to steal what fate has sent me. My heart pounded. I'm not yours. No, he agreed softly. But destiny is not finished with you, and neither am I. Before I could respond, he turned, cloak sweeping behind him like wings, and vanished into the crimson-lit corridors. Elena stepped forward gently. Come, she said. I'll take you to your room. I followed her through the vast halls, feeling the echo of his touch on my cheek, the weight of his words in my chest. Not claimed. Not yet. But chosen. And somewhere deep inside me, where my wolf had been shattered by abandonment, something small and fragile began to pulse again. Hope. Elena guided me through a long corridor lit by floating candles that drifted like fireflies. The air hummed with an energy I couldn't name, magic, ancient and heavy, pulsing faintly against my skin. My wolf stirred uneasily, unsure whether to be comforted or afraid. You must be overwhelmed, Elena said softly, her steps graceful across the marbled floor. Most who enter the Crimson Court do so in chains, not under the king's protection. A shiver ran through me. I'm not sure why he's helping me. Elena glanced at me with eyes far older than her youthful face. John does not help without purpose. But his purposes are not always cruel. Her answer both soothed and unsettled me. We turned a corner, passing arched windows that looked out onto the valley below. The crimson sky had begun to fade into a dark wine color, thick clouds rolling past the moon. I pressed a hand to the glass. It was cold, unnaturally cold. And the world outside looked like a dream drifting into a nightmare. Your pack truly cast you out? Elena asked gently. A lump formed in my throat. They said I was cursed. She regarded me quietly. And do you believe that? I hesitated. The weight of years pressed against my ribs. The memory of Fraser turning away haunted me like a half-healed wound. I don't know what I am anymore, I whispered. Elena's expression softened. Then you are closer to truth than most. Those who believe they know themselves are often the most lost. Before I could answer, she pushed open a set of heavy carved doors. Warm golden light spilled into the hall. This will be your chamber, she said. I stepped inside and stopped. It was breathtaking. Tall windows draped in dark velvet. A bed carved from dark wood, layered in silken sheets the color of moonlight. A fireplace crackling with soft blue flame. A balcony overlooking the entire valley, where the stars cut through the fading crimson sky. The air smelled faintly of roses and winter. This is too much, I murmured. The king chose it for you, Elena replied, almost cautiously. He insists his guests sleep in comfort. Guests. The word didn't feel right, not after the way he'd looked at me. Elena, I asked quietly, what do you know about the blood moon? She froze. Only for a second, but long enough for fear to flicker through her irises. Enough to know it doesn't shine without reason, she said. Enough to know that when it calls, someone's fate changes. John said it was calling for me. Her silence was sharp as a blade. Elena? She inhaled slowly. The blood moon has appeared before, but rarely. And always around a marked Omega. I'm not marked, I said. I don't have a bond mark. Her gaze lowered to my wrist. You don't have one yet. A cold tremor ran through me. Before I could ask more, the torches in the hall flickered, once, twice, then steadied again. Elena stiffened, her posture snapping alert. What's wrong? I asked. She stepped toward the door. Stay inside, she said firmly. I'll return soon. Elena. She didn't look back. Lock the door behind me. The doors shut. Silence pressed in. I exhaled shakily and turned toward the balcony, drawn by the pull of night. Beyond the glass, the valley glowed in faint crimson and silver. Wolves howled in the distance, long, mournful cries that prickled my skin. Then, from somewhere deep within the castle, a sound echoed softly. A heartbeat. Not mine. Not human. Slow. Ancient. Calling me. I moved without thinking, crossing the room toward the balcony doors. My fingers brushed the handle, and stopped. The heartbeat grew stronger. Steady. Familiar. As if I had heard it before. In dreams, in whispers, in moments where I felt alone and watched by something I couldn't name. Then a presence shifted behind me. Not loud. Not threatening. Just there. I turned. John stood in the doorway, cloak draped over his shoulders, silver eyes burning softly in the dim light. You shouldn't open that, he murmured. The night watches too closely. My breath tangled in my chest. I thought you left. I did. His gaze traveled over me, every detail, as if confirming I was unharmed. But something stirred the wards. I came back the moment I felt it. He stepped toward me, slow, deliberate, every movement a promise and a warning. You're not safe alone, Emma, he whispered. His voice lowered into something that wrapped around every part of me. Not tonight. Not ever, until we understand what you are. John's presence filled the chamber like a second heartbeat, steady, powerful, impossible to ignore. The firelight painted soft silver across his cheekbones, highlighting the ancient sharpness of his features. His cloak spread behind him like living shadow, swallowing the dim light around him. I swallowed hard. You said I'd be safe here. You will be, he replied. But safety is not a room. It's vigilance. There was a heaviness in his voice, an undertone of tension I hadn't heard before. He moved past me, brushing only inches from my arm, yet the air shifted as if my entire body reacted to the nearness of him. What stirred the wards? I asked. He paused beside the balcony doors, eyes narrowing as he studied the mountains beyond. A presence. Faint but wrong. It didn't cross into the castle, but it pushed against the borders. What kind of presence? He looked back at me. Alpha. Strong. Dangerous. A beat. Possibly someone from your past. My breath caught. Liam? I whispered. John watched my expression carefully. Does the thought of him frighten you? No, I said, but my voice wavered. Not anymore. Something softened in his gaze. Approval? Pride? I couldn't tell. He took one slow step toward me, closing the distance until my back brushed the edge of the bed. The room suddenly felt too small, too warm, charged with something I didn't have a name for. You should rest, he said, though his tone made the word feel anything but restful. Your wolf is exhausted. I'm not sure I can sleep. He lifted a hand, hesitating just a moment, to tuck a loose strand of hair behind my ear. His fingertips barely grazed my skin, but the contact sent a shiver through me so deep I had to steady my breath. You're trembling, he whispered. No, I breathed. Just overwhelmed. His silver eyes flickered with something like conflict, danger battling restraint. I can ease your mind if you wish. How? I asked. He lowered his hand slowly, deliberately, letting his cool knuckles trace along the curve of my jaw before dropping away. Vampire kings have a way of calming fear, he murmured. A gift of aura and intention. No compulsion, simply presence. The way he said it, soft, intimate, made my pulse skip. I don't want to control you, he added, voice thickening. I only want to quiet whatever pain the world left inside you. His words hit something deep, raw, and unguarded. My throat tightened. Why are you being so gentle with me? A long silence wrapped around us. When he finally spoke, his answer was quiet but devastating. Because you have known enough cruelty. I felt the truth of it like a blow. He stepped back then, creating distance that felt like a door closing. I've arranged for your meal, he said. Elena will bring it soon. Sleep afterward. I'll remain within the castle until dawn. You don't sleep? I asked. Rarely, he said. And never when danger circles something important. He caught himself, but the word lingered between us, heavy with meaning neither of us dared unpack. John, I said softly, is there something you're not telling me? He turned toward the door, cloak sweeping behind him, but paused with his hand on the frame. I will tell you everything, he murmured, but not tonight. Not while the blood moon burns. Why not tonight? He looked over his shoulder, eyes glowing faintly. Because if I tell you now, you won't sleep again. The door shut gently behind him, leaving me alone with the echo of his words. Not a threat. Not a warning. But a promise. And some part of me, deep, instinctive, knew exactly what he meant. Whatever truth tied me to the crimson sky, to the prophecy, to him. It was already changing everything. Elena returned not long after John left, though her knock was so soft I barely heard it over the crackling of the blue flame. When I opened the door, she stood holding a tray of food, warm bread, roasted vegetables, a fragrant broth that steamed into the air. You need strength, she said gently. Your wolf is drained. I took the tray with a quiet thank you, and she gave a small bow before stepping back outside. Her posture was strained, her eyes cautious. Elena, is something wrong? She hesitated. The king ordered additional guards along the eastern walls. He rarely does that unless he feels a threat approaching. A chill settled beneath my ribs. You mean the alpha he sensed? It is possible, she said. But John doesn't act on possibilities. Only certainties. With a final glance toward my room, almost protective, she slipped away down the corridor. The door clicked softly shut behind me. I sat on the bed, barely tasting the food. My mind spun with questions, fears, and the lingering sensation of John's touch on my skin. The room felt too quiet, too still after everything that had happened. I set the tray aside and walked toward the balcony, the air growing colder with every step. I didn't open the doors. John's warning echoed too sharply in my mind, but I looked out through the glass. The valley was blanketed in moonlight now, the crimson sky fading into dark violet shadows. Far off, wolves howled, rogues or pack, I couldn't tell. My wolf stirred weakly inside me, drawn toward the sound and terrified of it at the same time. Then, something flickered. Not light. Not movement. A feeling. A tug low in my chest, like an invisible cord pulling tight. Bond. My knees wobbled, and I braced a hand against the glass. It wasn't a completed bond, not the kind a mate mark created, but something older, rawer, instinctive. A whisper beneath my skin, threading through my ribcage like a heartbeat not my own. What is happening to me? I breathed. The answer came in a voice that wasn't voice at all. You are awakening. I jerked back, pulse surging. My reflection stared at me. Wide-eyed, shaken, but there was no figure, no ghost, no presence in the room. Just the lingering echo of words shaped like moonlight and memory. The moon goddess? I sank onto the edge of the bed, wrapping my arms around myself. My wolf trembled, curling into the sound of that whisper. It didn't frighten her. It made her bow. Before I could steady myself, the door to my room clicked softly. I spun around. John stood in the doorway. Not entering. Not speaking. Just watching me. His expression was unreadable, but the air around him felt charged, tense, electric, like the castle itself held its breath. You felt it, he said. Not a question. A truth. I swallowed. The whisper? His jaw tightened slightly. Not just a whisper. A summons. To what? I whispered. To destiny. His voice dropped into shadow. To me. Heat rushed up my neck. John, I don't. You do, he said quietly, stepping inside and closing the door behind him. Your scent shifted. Your pulse changed. The bond began to stir. I'm not your mate, I whispered, shaking my head. His gaze darkened, not anger, not denial, but something deeper. I never said you were, he murmured. But something ties us. Something older than mate marks and bloodlines. He stepped closer. And tonight, it woke. My breath trembled. What does that mean? His silver eyes softened with a rare, devastating gentleness. It means you are not alone anymore. My heart stuttered. And it means, he added, voice low, that whoever hunts you, whoever casts you out, felt it too. My breath froze halfway in my throat. They'll come for you, John said, crossing the final step between us. But they'll have to go through me first. The room pulsed with the weight of his vow. And I'll tear down the world, he whispered, before I let them touch you again. John's vow hung in the air, heavy, dangerous, and strangely comforting. His presence filled the room like cold fire, wrapping around me in a way that made my wolf stir with something unfamiliar, trust. Maybe even safety. I took a slow breath, trying to steady my racing pulse. You shouldn't say things like that, I whispered. You barely know me. He tilted his head, studying me as though measuring truths I hadn't spoken aloud. I know enough. His voice lowered, threaded with a gravity that pulled at something deep inside me. I know the blood moon flared the moment you were cast out. I know rogue wolves hunted you with intent. I know your scent changed when our paths crossed. And I know, his hand lifted, hovering just inches from my cheek, that destiny does not make mistakes. My throat tightened. Destiny ruined my life. Destiny pushed you out of a cage, he corrected softly. It did not ruin you. It freed you. I looked away, blinking against the sting behind my eyes. It didn't feel like freedom. His voice softened. Pain rarely does. A silence settled between us, quiet, but charged. John stepped closer, not touching, but close enough that his aura brushed over me like cool smoke. My heartbeat stumbled, unsure whether to flee or lean into him. Emma, he murmured, tell me something. I swallowed. What? When they cast you out, did anyone try to stop it? The question undid me. Fraser's face flashed in my mind, unmoved, arms crossed, choosing the pack over me without hesitation. Liam's refusal to meet my eyes. The council turning away as if I were a stain on their law. My voice cracked. No. John's expression changed, not pity, not empathy. Something darker. Protective. Furious. That is why I returned tonight, he said. Not because of danger. Not because of prophecy. His eyes locked onto mine. Because no one should face the night alone after being betrayed by their own blood. It was too much. My breath hitched, and before I could stop myself, a tear slipped down my cheek. I turned away, embarrassed. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm. A cool fingertip brushed the tear away before it could fall. You do not need to apologize for feeling, John said quietly. Emotion is not weakness. Not for wolves. Not for kings. His touch stayed for a heartbeat too long. My skin warmed under it, my wolf pressing upward as if she knew the truth before I did. The bond wasn't complete. Not a mate mark, not fate sealed. But a thread tugged between us, undeniable and growing stronger with every breath. John exhaled slowly, as if fighting something inside himself. Then he stepped back, breaking the intensity before it consumed us both. There is something you must know, he said. Your pack didn't cast you out because you were weak. They cast you out because they were afraid. Afraid of what? I whispered. Afraid of what you would become. My stomach tightened. You're not making sense. He nodded once, calm but certain. Then I'll make it clearer. He walked toward the fireplace, shadows dancing over his coat, and faced me fully. Emma, he said, voice steady and cold with truth. You are not an ordinary Omega. The room seemed to still. What does that mean? I asked. You're a rare kind, he said. One tied to prophecy. One with a bond that awakens under the blood moon. One the moon goddess marked before birth. My breath faltered. But I don't have a bond mark. It's hidden, he said. Dormant. Waiting for the moment your true path begins. His gaze burned into mine. And it began the night you were abandoned. A cold whisper slid through me. Your pack feared you, John continued. They sensed what you were becoming, something powerful enough to shake kingdoms. My heart pounded. What am I becoming? He stepped forward again, silver eyes glowing with something between warning and reverence. An Omega. Destined to break the laws of wolves and vampires alike. A chill swept down my spine. And worse, he added softly, someone else already knows it. My breath trembled. Who? John's jaw tightened. The Alpha who sent the rogues. Silence swallowed the room. Someone is hunting you, Emma, he said. Not for revenge. Not for fear. He held my gaze, his expression darkening into something lethal. They want to claim you. My stomach dropped. And I, John murmured, stepping close once more, will kill them before I allow that to happen. The fire crackled softly, but the room felt colder, colder than any winter night I'd ever endured. John's words wrapped around me like chains made of truth and fear. Someone wanted to claim me. My breath hitched. Why would any Alpha want that? I'm not special. John's gaze hardened. You are. And pretending otherwise won't save you. He moved closer, stopping just a foot away. Near enough that the coolness of his aura brushed my skin like a whisper of snow. His voice lowered, the calm edge of a blade sliding into velvet. Alphas don't chase weakness, Emma. His eyes burned like polished silver. They chase power. A lump tightened in my throat. What power could I possibly have? John studied me as though memorizing every tremor of my expression. The kind of power that makes prophecy bleed. The kind that awakens under a crimson sky. The room filled with a pressure I couldn't name, something ancient, watching, listening. A flicker of fear slipped through me. He saw it instantly. I won't let them take you, he said, stepping closer until heat and frost collided in the space between us. Not while I breathe. The words shouldn't have meant anything, not from a vampire king, not from someone who lived centuries beyond my fragile years. But they settled into my bones like warmth after frostbite. I exhaled shakily. John! If someone is after me, if I'm really, whatever you think I am, why didn't my pack protect me? His expression tightened into something sharp and furious. Because they are cowards, he said. Because they feared what they couldn't control. Because you grew stronger, and they mistook growth for threat. My jaw trembled. Fraser didn't even look at me when they cast me out. John's voice dropped, soft, but lethal underneath. Then Fraser forfeited the right to be called your brother. The conviction in his tone shook something loose inside me. I lowered my gaze, swallowing the ache rising in my chest. Sit, John murmured. Your wolf is on the edge of collapse. I'm fine. You're not. He guided me gently toward the bed, not grabbing, not forcing, just urging, his hand barely touching the small of my back. But even that ghost of contact sent a warm shiver through me. I sat, breath uneven. John knelt in front of me. The king of the Crimson Court. On his knees before a cast-out Omega. My heart stumbled. Close your eyes, he said quietly. I hesitated. Why? Because your wolf is frightened, he said. And she knows my presence will calm her. How? His voice softened into something disarming. Our energies align. Your body recognizes mine. I shook my head. But we aren't bonded. No, he whispered. But destiny has already linked us. Before I could protest, a gentle coldness brushed my wrists. Barely there, like frost melting against skin. John's hands hovered around mine, not touching, simply surrounding them in a circle of cold warmth. Breathe, he said. I did. And suddenly, the tension in my chest loosened. My wolf, wild, frantic, hurt, leaned into the sensation like she'd been waiting for it her entire life. My eyes fluttered open. John was watching me, intense but careful. Better? He asked. Why, yes, I whispered. How did you do that? His jaw flexed. Vampires do not bond the way wolves do. We don't share marks. We share essence. What does that mean? It means... He hesitated, struggling with words he clearly didn't often speak. That we can sense the souls aligned with ours. My breath stilled. Are you saying my soul is aligned with yours? He exhaled once, sharply, as if admitting it cost him something. Yes. A warmth bloomed inside me, dangerous, unsteady, impossible. He rose slowly to his feet. But before he could step back, the air changed, snapping with a pressure so strong the candles flickered violently. I froze. John's head turned sharply toward the balcony. No, he whispered, voice sharp as broken glass. Not now. What is it? I breathed. His silver eyes flashed, bright and lethal. An alpha. He bared his teeth, not fangs, not hunger, pure territorial fury. They're at the border of my lands. My stomach dropped. Liam? No, he growled. Stronger. A chill raced across my spine. Stay inside, John commanded. Do not open this door. Do not step onto that balcony. Do not follow me. Fear surged through my chest. John! His cloak curled around him as he turned, a silhouette carved from shadow and cold flame. I'll end this before they get close, he said, voice trembling with wrath. Just stay alive. My voice cracked. He paused at the door, just a heartbeat, and looked back with eyes that glowed like molten silver. I promise, he whispered. I'm not leaving you. Then he vanished into the night, leaving the room trembling with the force of a predator who had just been provoked beyond reason. The door had barely shut behind him before the silence crashed into me, heavy, suffocating, and alive with tension. The torches along the walls flickered as if reacting to his absence, their flames stretching toward the exit like they, too, wanted to follow him into the night. My pulse thundered in my ears. John, an immortal king feared across kingdoms, had left with fury in his eyes. A fury I had never seen before, even when he slaughtered the rogues with effortless precision. This was different. Personal. Territorial. Ancient. Whoever had dared cross into his lands wasn't just a threat, they were a challenger. I rose from the bed, pacing toward the window. My breath fogged the glass as I pressed a hand against it. The valley stretched endlessly beneath the moonlight, a silver ocean of shadows and distant forests. Somewhere out there, unseen and silent, two alphas were preparing to clash. And one of them was hunting me. A tremor rippled through my chest, not just fear, something deeper, an instinctive pull. As if a thread binding me to John tugged sharply each time his aura flared beyond the mountains. My wolf lifted her head inside me, ears pinned back, pacing anxiously. Go to him, she whispered. No, I breathed, shaking my head. He told us to stay. Mate? Destiny? Protection? Her emotions tangled into a knot of longing and warning. We don't know what he is to us, I whispered. We don't know anything. Another tug of the invisible thread made my knees buckle. Then, distant but sharp as a dagger, the ground rumbled. Not an earthquake. Not the storm winds shifting. A shockwave. A burst of alpha power. My pulse stuttered. John! The castle walls hummed as if reacting to the clash, sigils glowing faintly along the stone edges. Whatever battle was unfolding beyond the ridge wasn't small. It wasn't a simple confrontation. It was a war declaration. I backed away from the window, forcing myself to breathe. The air tasted metallic, fear, magic, and the lingering signature of John's essence. Another rumble. Another surge of power. A growl, deep, primal, echoing through the valley. Not wolf. Vampire. John. I pressed a hand to my racing heart as warmth and fear collided inside me. The connection between us, whatever it was, pulled harder with every moment. My breath came faster, shallow. The bond wasn't formed, but something instinctive, something ancient, reached for him. A sudden knock jolted me. Not loud. Not rushed. A single, cautious tap. Elena? I called, stepping closer. Yes, came her voice, strained, quiet. Emma, may I enter? I cracked the door open only enough to see her face. She looked pale, her blue eyes flickering like candlelight. What's happening? I whispered. An Alpha crossed the king's boundary. John went after him. I know, she said, swallowing. The castle felt his shift. I blinked. Shift? But he's not like wolves, Elena murmured. But vampires have their own kind of transformation. Her gaze darkened. It's rare. And it's violent. Fear twisted in my stomach. Is he in danger? She hesitated, then spoke carefully. John does not fear death. But he fears failing to protect what the blood moon placed in his path. My breath caught. Is that me? Elena's eyes softened, full of understanding and pity. Yes. My throat tightened. Why can't I go to him? Because the Alpha who crossed our borders came for you. Elena took my hands gently. If you leave this room, he'll sense you. He'll track you. And no matter how strong John is, he can't kill what he can't catch. I pulled my hands away, pacing back toward the window. I can feel him out there. Elena nodded slowly. He can feel you too. A tremor tore through me, panic, longing, instinct, all tangled into one. The bond wasn't complete, but it was awakening fast. Too fast. Elena, I whispered, breath shaking. Who is the Alpha? She looked toward the balcony with dread. His name is Marcus Blackwell. The name punched the air from my lungs. Marcus? From the Northern Territories? Yes. A powerful Alpha with no Luna and no heirs. He's been searching for an Omega strong enough to secure his bloodline. A chill rippled down my spine. He's heard the prophecy, Elena said. He believes you're the key to his rise. I stepped back, shaking. I don't want him. I never wanted. I know. She squeezed my shoulders gently. But Marcus is ruthless. He will kill anyone who stands between him and what he wants. Another distant growl, John's, rolled through the mountains like thunder. Elena flinched. The king is pushing himself too far. Because of me, I whispered. The candles flickered violently, as if reacting to the truth. Elena, if he won't fall, she said firmly. But Marcus is stronger than most wolves. He is desperate. And desperate alphas do not fight fair. I inhaled sharply. I can't just sit here. You must. No, I said, a sudden fire rising in my chest. I won't let someone else bleed for me. Not again. Elena stepped in my path. Emma, stop. But something inside me snapped. The bond. The prophecy. The blood moon's call. A pulse rippled through my body, warm, burning, electric. My vision blurred at the edges, the world shimmering like moonlight on water. Elena gasped, stumbling back. Your scent, it's changing. I braced against the wall, panting. What's happening to me? She stared, wide-eyed. Your bond, Mark, it's awakening. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would break. Somewhere out there, John roared, loud enough to shake the mountains. And deep inside my chest, something answered. The world tilted. The moment the bond mark began to awaken beneath my skin, heat flooded through my veins like liquid moonfire. My knees buckled, and I clutched the balcony railing as the mark, still invisible, still unformed, burned with a pulse that wasn't mine. Elena pressed a hand to her mouth, eyes wide. Emma, the moon goddess is choosing. No, I gasped, barely able to breathe. I'm choosing. Outside, the mountains shattered with the force of a roar, John's roar. The sound vibrated through the stone walls, through the air, through me. My wolf rose, fierce and trembling. Go to him. No, Elena said. Go. The pull inside me snapped taut, and suddenly nothing could hold me back. I pushed past Elena, threw open the balcony doors, and the cold night wind swallowed me whole. Without thinking, without fear, I stepped onto the stone railing and jumped. For one heartbeat I fell. And then, wings of silver light burst beneath me. Not wings of flesh. Not magic meant to last. Just a momentary cradle of moonlit energy that slowed my descent long enough for me to hit the lower terrace on my feet, breathless but unbroken. The bond mark pulsed again. John needed me. I ran. Down the stairways carved into the mountain. Through the gardens of black roses that curled away from my steps. Across the ancient stones that vibrated with the clash of two monstrous forces. I reached the cliff's edge just as the clouds parted, revealing the moon. Full and glowing crimson. There, in the valley below, John and Marcus collided in a storm of power. Marcus towered in massive wolf form, black fur, burning ember eyes, claws slicing sparks from the ground. His howls shook the earth. John stood opposite him, transformed in his own way, eyes white-flamed, energy crackling from his limbs, his aura towering like a shadow crowned in moonlight. He moved with impossible grace, every strike precise and devastating. But Marcus was relentless. He lunged, fangs closing around John's arm, dragging him to the ground. John snarled with fury, shadows ripping through the dirt like tendrils responding to his rage. He threw Marcus back, but the alpha landed on his feet, ready again. They were going to kill each other. And deep inside me, the bond mark screamed, awakening in a surge of pain and truth. Go to him, my wolf begged. He is yours. I stumbled forward. John! Both combatants froze. John's head snapped toward me instantly, eyes wide, glowing with something that wasn't fury anymore, fear. Emma, and oh! But Marcus moved first. He shifted mid-sprint, becoming a man again, huge, scarred, eyes burning with greed. There you are, he growled. The Omega prophecy. I backed away, heart pounding. Stay away. He reached for me. And the bond snapped. A burst of crimson-silver light exploded outward from my chest, slamming into the ground in a shockwave that threw Marcus backward and brought John to his knees with the force of it. The valley fell silent. My vision blurred with tears as a glowing mark finally rose on my skin, spiraling across my wrist like a crescent moon fractured by fate. The bond mark the pack had claimed would never come. It came now. John stared at me, stunned. Marcus snarled and lunged again. But John reached me first. In a blur of pure instinct and ancient power, John seized Marcus by the throat and slammed him into the rock with enough force to shake the mountain. If you ever touch her again, John hissed, voice trembling with pure wrath, I will erase your bloodline from this world. Marcus didn't get up again. John turned to me, breath ragged, silver eyes glowing not with violence but with something far more dangerous, emotion. He reached toward my wrist. Emma, your mark. I don't know what it means, I whispered. His fingers brushed the glowing crescent. It means your destiny has finally awakened. He cupped my face, thumb brushing my cheek as though memorizing me. It means you survived everything meant to break you. I swallowed hard. John! He leaned closer, slow, cautious, reverent, until his forehead touched mine. The valley wind quieted, the moon softened, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel alone. You were abandoned by those too blind to see your worth, he whispered. And fate brought you to the one who never will. The bond mark warmed beneath his touch. My voice trembled. What happens now? His lips brushed my forehead, a promise, gentle and devastating. No, he murmured. We step into destiny together. His hand slipped around mine, the bond mark glowing brighter as our fingers intertwined. And Emma. His voice softened into something that made my chest ache. You will never be cast out again. Not while I rule. Not while I breathe. The moon shimmered above us, no longer crimson with warning, but with blessing. For the first time, I believed it. I was not cursed. I was not weak. I was chosen. And beneath the shattered blood moon, held in the arms of the vampire king who refused to abandon me, I finally chose myself too. Thank you so much for listening to this story. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And drop a comment below telling me what part of the story you like the most, or what kind of alpha and omega tale you want to hear next. Your comments help me choose the next story.